Such love has no fear, because perfect love expels all fear. If we are afraid, it is for fear of punishment, and this shows that we are not fully experiencing His perfect love. This verse became one of my favorite verses in a time of life where I had fear of just who I was, and just felt unperfect and unloved, and I just realized that I could really rest in the fact that God truly loved me, and that although I'm a sinner, that He perfectly made me. And it just took this burden of judgment and fear and self-consciousness to be able to give it over to the Lord. And even when that fear comes back, I can reflect on this verse and remember that He does perfectly love me, and I need to rest in that love.
My favorite verse is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Philippians 4:13 is my favorite verse because when I don't think I can memorize all my breakout verses, God helps me remember all of them. God's used that verse in my life because when I share with people, I say that if you believe in God, then you can do anything with God.
One of my favorite Bible passages is from 1 Thessalonians, book 5 and verse 16. Be joyful always, pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. The reason I think I like this verse so much is because initially it sounds like there's no way I can do that. I'm human. But I think just memorizing that verse and having it kind of available to me, it just makes me realize that He's not saying be happy, but joyful is very different than happy. Pray continually, I think that's kind of a prayerful attitude. And the one about thankful in all situations is a little bit harder. But I think as I get older and mature, I realize that there is good in everything, and if I could just be thankful for that, even though I don't know what it is always, I can still be thankful.
My favorite verse is James 1:22. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourself. Do what it says. It's my favorite verse because it reminds me that I need to apply what I learn in church and read in the Bible to my life. He's used it in my life because when I'm at school and I'm talking to a friend about religion, then I always know something to say about it because I remember what I read in the Bible or I heard at church.
Well, my favorite verse is Philippians 4:6 and 7. And it's an amazing verse. It says this: do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Why this is important for me is because I know I worry. I know I get anxious. And I tend to try and do things on my own. And when I lean on this understanding that is so beyond me, all of a sudden things start to change. And I'm reminded of what that relationship is, that big why that is Jesus. And so when we are anxious and worried, we're saying to God, I've got this. I know more than you do. And when we sit back and rest in this verse, at least when I do, that's my why, and I'm not anxious, no matter what the situation is, and I give it back to Him, all of a sudden that peace that transcends all understanding takes over. And I'm in God's hands again. And He's walking ahead of me, and I'm following Him.